Hey, welcome back to A Faster Me. We are out in Carson, California at the Velo Sport Center or the Olympic Velodrome. So, this is a private PAA session sponsored by Gerry Agnew of Agnew and Brusovich, serious injury attorneys. So, we definitely appreciate the sponsorship and just the introduction to the track. Johnny's going to be our instructor for the day, and we got about 7 or 8 members out here that were interested in, getting introduced to the velodrome. So if you look to the far left of the track here, you'll see the railing there. That's the safety rail, and then on the navy blue part there is called the apron. I'm here on the sky blue line, and that's the safety line. It's the light blue there. Just above the black line to my right is the sprinter's line, excuse me. Above the red line is the passing line, basically. So, if somebody's on the track that's a little slower or going a different pace, you just say stay. And when you say stay, they're not supposed to react. They're supposed to just hold their line, hold their speed, everything else, and you can make the safe pass. It's your responsibility to make a safe pass when you do choose to pass someone. And then above that is the blue line. And at the very top of the track are what's called the boards. And that's basically the highest line you can ride around the track. So right here, Johnny just has us riding the safety line. And normally you would not ride this line, not to do any efforts or anything. This is really the transition line to get on and off the track. So he just has us getting used to the layout, getting used to the track, getting used to a fixie bike. So our bikes are fixed gear. I think we're running 48-15s right now, gear ratio. You have to pedal the entire time. There's no brakes, no lights, no signaling, none of that. It's just a constant pedal. And to apply brakes or to try to slow down, you basically want to resist on the upstroke. Let the bike or let your feet kind of like freewheel on the downstroke, and then you want to apply resistance on the upstroke or the backstroke. So anyway, it seems a little scary at first if you're not used to riding fixies. I'm trying to pass Lambda here, and normally she wouldn't be doing like a faster effort on the apron in there. It's just because it's our first session and we're just getting used to the track. So he just had us ride the apron or the blue line, the light blue line, the safety line, sorry. So yeah, that's just basically it right now. We're just getting introduction to the track. We'll be out here for a full 3 hours or whatever, and I'm just going to show you some of the activities we did for the day and just some of the things that we learned. So just a little bit about the track. This is a natural wood track. There's no treatment on it or anything. It's just they keep the temperature a certain degrees to try to help the aging of the wood. And the banking on the turns are 45 degrees. I can't remember if it's 45 or 46, but 45 is good enough. So, all right. So here after we got used to just riding around on the bikes, all the bikes were provided for us. Also, we're riding some felt track bikes. Most of them have aero bars, adjustable seats, all that kind of stuff. And we basically just had to bring our pedals. So here he's going to have Ellen lead us, and we're just going to do a little pace line. And it's trying to get us used to just riding with the group, riding with the rider in front of you, and learning how to speed up and slow down without any brakes, just so you won't run into the rider in front of you, or that you won't open too big of a gap. I don't know if you guys saw it, there was a little balloon right there in the corner, and some people are kind of freaking out about it, but it's just a little Mylar balloon. And yeah, I'm sure under the perfect circumstances it can cause an accident, but for the most part that balloon was not bothering anybody, and I'm sure it's there all day or whatever, and it was no big deal, but it kind of made some people uncomfortable. So eventually Johnny moves it off the track, but no big deal. It's just it's something that if you were to get close to it, it's just going to blow out of the way. So anyway, I'm riding right now behind Lambda, and that's Francisco in front of Lambda, and they have a little gap opened up. We're supposed to be riding kind of pace lining it, but everyone's not comfortable yet on the bikes, and pretty much none of us have ridden fixies on a regular basis. I haven't ridden a fixie since basically I was a kid, other than taking one of my buddies' bikes around campus every once in a while. Summer is here with us. She's behind me, I believe, and she's the only one that's kind of used to riding a fixie. She's done some fixie racing and stuff like that. So, yeah, so all we're doing here is just, slow pace line, riding behind each other, still getting used to the track, how the rubber feels against the wood and the paint. In your mind, you feel like there's less traction, but it's actually pretty sticky. I mean, the tires were pretty sticky. We're riding on some 23s, I think, right now. It's kind of funny, you hear all the track rumors about how high the PSI is and all that kind of stuff on the track, and it's kind of misleading. We're riding at basically 100 PSI right now. Just about all of us. Our bikes are pumped to about 100 PSI. Yes, our tires are smaller. Most people on the road nowadays are riding at least 25s to 28, basically. And yeah, we're just at 100 PSI, nothing so extreme. When you hear people riding 200 PSI, stuff like that, it's usually for larger sprinters. Excuse me, sorry about that. Yeah, it's usually for like larger sprinters. And the PSI you ride on the track does affect or can affect like the grip level. So, yeah, so everything was kind of normal. It's not as extreme as one may think. So now we're going to follow Johnny, the instructor, and he's going to get us going a little bit faster and, hit the bankings and stuff like that and just kind of get us used to going up and down the track. To stay actually up on the banking, you do have to be going a certain speed or a minimum speed. It's not really that fast, honestly. I want to say they said above 18 miles per hour, you should be able to stay on the banking pretty comfortably. Yeah, I don't know how fast we're going because we don't have bike computers on or anything. We're just going by feel. But it's not really as fast as you think. You don't really have to hit it full speed. We all kind of do a little bit, or at least have a little acceleration into the turn just for, until you get over your fear. But after you start riding it a little while, I mean, it's no big deal. You just go into the turn, maintain your speed, and you'll float around the curve like, just like you're riding a regular bike. It does have a little unique feel to it, and you probably need to keep your vision in line, up and through, not looking at the ground. If you look down at the track, yeah, it freaks you out a little bit, or it could. But it also could give you a little motion sickness or disorient you a little bit. So here he's just basically showing us how to transition, like from the safety line, up to the sprint line or to the blue line. And he'll start picking up the speed and just giving us a nice feel of the track, how it feels to come up and down the banking, how you pick up momentum, how you need to keep your speed and keep pedaling while going up. And you kind of, not freewheel is not the right word, but you kind of take the pressure off the pedals on the downhill and let your momentum carry you. I think the biggest thing to get used to is really just riding a fixie. Riding a fixie and getting used to how you slow down. Once you get used to it, you can actually slow down pretty fast. I mean, you can't just come to a screeching halt or anything, but you can slow down pretty fast. It doesn't even take you like a full turn or a full straightaway to really scrub a lot of speed off your bike. Now, I don't know if you're going like, well over 30 or something, how long it takes you to slow down, but, I don't even know how fast we went. Our Wahoos actually didn't really work in the building for some reason. I don't know if that's normal or not, but all of us that tried to record the ride, like there's no GPS. We don't have good speed or not accurate speed. One person had them going 50 miles per hour. Someone else had them at a top speed of 19 miles per hour. So, and mine didn't really show up at all. All I have is heart rate on the session, but my GPS and all the stats never showed up. So here he has us coming up and we're rubbing the rail there. So we go up to the top, slide our hand across the railing just to show a little bike control and just get up to the very top of the boards there. Same here, just come all the way up, touch the rail, and then kind of come back down. I can tell the track definitely will inspire a lot of trust in the people you're riding with. You have to trust that the person in front of you is going to not only hold their line, but more importantly, hold their speed, hold the pace. When you're riding nose to tail with no brakes and, it takes a concentration to adjust your speed. There has to be a lot of trust there, but I can definitely see the benefits of it as well. It's a pretty good effort. It's kind of like riding on Zwift a little bit. So here, we're following Johnny again. We picked up the pace. I think we had a little lunch break in between. I'm not sure if this is it or not yet. I'm following Francisco now. And at first, Francisco was a little nervous. He was a little nervous. We all were. But he was a little more nervous sometimes on just, getting up to speed. He doesn't ride fixies either. And just getting up to speed and going into the banking. So you can tell we're going a lot faster now. This is like, I don't know, probably an hour into our session or something. But yeah, it has a little gap opened up here. And it's okay to have a gap open up. The main thing is just try not to fluctuate your speed and your line as much. And as you can see, I'm like about to run into him. You're not supposed to pass on the left-hand side, and I wasn't really trying to. The only thing happened is he shut his speed down a little bit. And for me, I went on the low side instead of the high side, but we're not supposed to pass. In this drill, we're not supposed to be doing any passing. But when you come down from the banking, it automatically increases your speed. So I end up carrying momentum by him and, definitely wasn't trying to. And in the long run, that would be considered unsafe. You're always supposed to pass on the right on the track, unless someone's on the boards. And then, of course, you have to pass on the left. But in general, you're supposed to pass on the right and use the passing lane there. That's above the red line, below the blue line to do your passing. So now I'm behind Lambda, and Lambda, she's the only one here that doesn't race. She's done some race clinics and things like that, and she's thought about racing, but as far as I know, so far she has not raced, and she hasn't raced for PAA yet, as far as I know. But here we're going pretty good, and this is our first time, I think, really above the blue line or for any prolonged period of time. And from what Johnny explains to us, this is where you ride the blue line. You kind of ride it at the blue line, not just in the middle of the boards up here. And then from the blue line, you can go all the way up the top to the boards, not just in the middle of the lane. So you're kind of riding it just above the blue line, or you're riding up top on the boards. Because even on the blue line, when people are doing practice sessions or races or whatever, you still give a little room because they're still supposed to pass you on the right. The only time you're supposed to pass on the left is someone's on the boards. I think on this day, I'm going to have 2 times where I pass people on the left. The one that you just saw with Francisco, and then there's another one with Lambda and Marlena where I got kind of uncomfortable here. If you see, I back off a lot because Lambda's lines are really not predictable. She's kind of squirreling back and forth, left and right, so I really wasn't trusting that. And I just backed off a little bit and gave myself some room. And that's what I was saying from the beginning. You really, without brakes, you really have to. Well, it's not just without brakes. It's without brakes, and you're only supposed to pass on one side. But whenever you're in a turn and something happens, it's kind of natural to let your momentum flow left because you pick up speed that way. And as soon as you try to slow down, you start to drop anyway. So I ended up just pulling out of the session just because the lines were really wild in front of me. And I didn't want to, running back to the person. We can't pass on this session. And so I just said, okay, I'm going to pull off. The session's almost over anyway, and we'll regroup on the next one. So when you come off the track, I did a little mistake here. I came pretty much straight to the apron, and you really should stay on the safety line and let the safety line scrub your speed down into a turn. Just kind of take the pressure off your pedals, go into the turn here and on the safety line, and that'll scrub a lot of your speed, and then you can transition over to the apron. Again, other than our session here, like, we're doing a specific thing, we're not really, you don't really ride the apron or the safety line. Those are just for like transitioning onto the track for the most part. So I think right here, we're just doing a free session. Yeah, we can do whatever we want.
Make sure you guys yell.
We're not following anyone. We're just free to go wherever we want right here and kind of test out the track a little bit, if I'm not mistaken. I think for the most part, he may have wanted us to ride the sprint line here. So just getting my speed up, and it's a lot different. If you think about it, there's only like 8 of us on track right now. It's a lot different if you come to a regular Velodrome session and, there's 20 or 30 or something people out there. You can see how important it is to say stay when you're passing someone so they don't change the line or anything. And also just to be able to keep your speed up and pick the spot to come into the track on. You definitely got to look right to make sure there's not a rider coming. And for the riders that are already up to speed, you really got to say stay loud and before you get to the rider, because if you're doing 25, 30 miles per hour, the closing speeds are going to be there's a big difference in closing speeds. So, you got to say it before you get to the rider instead of right next to them and then yell stay. So this is just, I'm going up to the blue line, basically for the first time solo, just to see what type of energy it takes to ride the blue line. You cannot slow down in the turns, or you can, but you take the risk of going too slow or just coming down the line, which you don't want to. So you really want to increase your pressure on the pedals going into the turn, and you want to recover on the straightaways. That's when you're riding just like the blue line like I'm doing here. If you're riding up on the boards, it's slightly different. You kind of relax the second half of the turn. But I actually never did a full lap on the boards. I think Ellen, my wife, is the only one that did a full lap up on the boards. And I just touched through a corner, like basically just did one corner on the boards and then would come back down the track. And mainly it was just because of fatigue. We had been riding now for almost 3 hours. This is a 3-hour session, and it takes a lot out of your legs. It's not super easy. Not just the constant pedaling, but you cannot coast, you cannot freewheel. And going up and down the boards is like, not only is it like an interval session, it's like doing a bunch of little inclines also, like, really rolling hills type of terrain. So now we're getting kind of late in the session here. So we're back following Johnny again. And Johnny gives great instruction, by the way. It was a fun class, and, he jokes around a little bit and stuff like that, but definitely, gives us the right instructions and serious when he needs to be and keeps it safe. We had 0 serious incidents. There was really 0 incidents altogether. The biggest incidents were, you'll see me passing Francisco on the left, and you will see another pass on the left in this session, I believe. But that was it. There was no near misses. There were no almost crashes. No one fell over. Nothing. Everyone followed instructions pretty well, especially for the first time. We did a lot of riding. Everyone picked up the course really well. And we're now thinking about getting certified. And typically you have to do 2 to 3 sessions to get certified and, pass all the things that you need to pass, learn what you need to learn, and display that you can be safe and ride the track safely and follow instructions. And that's about it. Johnny did instill a little fear in us. Basically, they have a rule that if you fall off the banking because you're going too slow, you're done for the day. So anyone that's going, just kind of noodling around in the banking and they end up losing grip or whatever and falling, you're done for the day. You can spectate, but that's about it. You can't ride your bike for the rest of the day. So it would suck to drive all the way out to Carson, pay for a Velodrome session, and then go 10 miles per hour through the banking and slide out, and you're just done for the day. So everyone was a little paranoid and made sure we kept our speed up high going into the banking and through the turn, all the way through the turn. And honestly, the camera does not do the banking any justice. When when you're there, it looks pretty steep. But honestly, from the sprint line all the way up to the boards, it's 45 degrees. So if you could ride the sprint line, you can ride the boards. It's, you know, it's the same grade, it's the same percentage. So once again, Lambda has some unpredictable lines here. She's kind of weaving back and forth across the track, and I think it was just a little paranoia, like, of running into the back of someone and holding a wheel. But yeah, you definitely have to be a little smoother and more predictable, and that's why I have the gap the way I do. And if you look here, how Lambda's to the left, her speed's gonna increase, and it forces Marlena to stay up to the right. And I kind of didn't know what Marlena was doing. I thought she was staying there, but really she got forced right, because I think Francisco and Lambda didn't hold their lines and dropped down the banking, which forced them to go underneath Marlena and pushed her up wide. So anyway, I end up apologizing to her coming through, and she's like, no, you're fine. You know, so yeah, that's just kind of the things like that as new riders to the Velodrome, we have to learn. Like, you have to be able to anticipate and judge your speed coming into turns, going out of turns, and just holding your momentum. And it's really not that big of a deal. Like, you don't need to panic. If you end up having a little low speed coming into a corner, you simply have to apply harder pressure to the pedals, and you'll make it around the turn with no problem. I think my tires slipped maybe twice total, and it wasn't due to speed, but it was maybe due to the angle that I attacked the corner at, or that I was riding the curve at. From what Johnny told me, it was more the angle of the bike, because it's just like a quick little, I don't know, it could probably be like a millimeter, half-inch slide, and that's it. Like, there was never a thought where, like, oh, I'm really gonna fall or anything like that. It's not really that type of issue. So anyway, we're pretty much closing out the session here, and we had some stuff that's that I didn't catch on camera just because the battery had worn out and I had to switch GoPros. So yeah, so we just had some free time also to just go and do whatever we want, go as fast as we want, go wherever we want around the track. Like I said, Ellen was the bravest on the day, and not only the bravest, had a little energy, because it wears you out when you're riding above the blue line like the entire time. Like I said, the grade's the same from the sprint line up to the top, but it does wear you out just the way you attack the hills a little bit. So very fun session. I can see how, we stepped into time trials these last couple weeks, and I can see how this would definitely help you as your time trialing, just to be smooth, stuff like that. Get used to your teammates without surging as much. Definitely can learn how to hold pace, preserve energy, and carry momentum, carry your speed. So anyway, thanks for watching. I'm going to close this out, and it's pretty much the end of the session anyway. So yeah, hopefully we'll get out to the track a little more often, maybe in the off season, and see how it goes. So I think on the end here too, Johnny's gonna swing by me and get a slingshot off me. We were talking about the Madison, yeah, right here when I dip down. We're talking about Madison doing some slingshotting, and he's gonna pull up here, grab me by the hip, and get a little slingshot off of me, just for a little chuckle. And there he goes. All right, well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.